There's an old Christmas song that I'll bet many, if not most people here know, called Santa Claus is Coming to Town. And if you know that, would you sing one verse with me and Burl Ives here?
He sees when you're asleeping, and he knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake.
Good job. I mean, now, some parts of that song I don't find particularly meaningful, but there is one line that stands out. The line, so be good for goodness sake. That line stands out to me because to be good for goodness sake and not out of self-interest is to be like God. Imagine this giant scale. On one side of the scale is all the sin and evil of this world. All that is dark in us and around us that weighs so heavily upon us. The war and violence in this world, home foreclosures and poverty, the alienation in our families, and the evils that we do to one another. And on the other end of this scale is a tiny drop, a drop of pure goodness. The drop of pure goodness that is Jesus Christ. And that goodness is enough. It is enough to begin the great reversal, to outweigh the weight of all that is ugly and evil in this world. That tiny drop of humanity and goodness in Jesus is enough to outweigh all that is ugly and hateful in this world. That is what we celebrate today. The goodness of God that took flesh in Jesus Christ and came to earth. The more I know Jesus, the more I know that He is goodness itself. A goodness so pure and true that it often makes me feel like crying. What is goodness? This goodness that tugs at our hearts and stirs something in us. Goodness could be described as selflessness, or perhaps more clearly as the opposite of selfishness. If you took away everything that is selfish, what you have left is goodness. And when you are around a good person, you get a sense, don't you, of the goodness that is in them. It's like a quality in them, but it's also more than that. It is something that shows up in their actions. I am convinced that good people are people who have made it a habit to do the right and loving thing, to be faithful and forgiving and kind. They've chosen that so often that it becomes a part of them. And when people strike us as good, we are experiencing more than the goodness of a baby, as beautiful as that is. We are also experiencing the goodness of someone who could do wrong but doesn't. Once I heard a college kid describe goodness this way. He said, if there was a light switch on that wall, and if throwing that light switch meant I could save your life, if I was a good person, I would do anything I could do to get to that light switch, no matter what it cost me. Good people don't settle. They don't settle for anything less than what is needed for love. And as we've discussed throughout Advent, good people will wait. And when the time is right, they will act. And they walk through life ready to do whatever is needed for love. And you have this sense that they're on your side somehow. Faith is the trust that there is a being, a force in this universe that is on your side, that's not indifferent, but is actually for us. And that is why the world needs us to be good. We will never know sometimes what difference a simple act of pure goodness on our parts might make for the world. For some, it's enough to help them believe in the existence of God. Today, we celebrate the goodness that is at the heart of this universe. Today, we celebrate the goodness that is at the heart of us. And I know we are each capable of great stupidity and evil. People can be so wicked, so cold, and so mean, and we are no exception to that. We're free. Later today, we could choose darkness or evil or wrong. And there is something in evil that attacks the good. Shortly after this drop of goodness entered human history, Herod was out to destroy it. As later in his life, so would Pilate be. Good people always suffer. But the promise is that goodness can overcome evil. Some ask, is it worth it to be good? Is it worth it? Is it worth it? I say yes. And not because Santa Claus is coming to town, but because of the weight of a snowflake. Once, a mouse asked a wild dove, "What is the weight of a snowflake?" And the dove said, "Well, I guess nothing more than nothing." The mouse said, "Well, then let me tell you a marvelous story. Once I was sitting in a fir tree on a branch right near the trunk, and it was snowing, not a blizzard, but a peaceful snow, like in a dream with no violence. And the flakes were falling slowly, and since I had nothing better to do, I started counting how many flakes fell on one particular branch. I had counted 1,342,796. And then, when the next snowflake fell on that branch, weighing, as you say, nothing more than nothing, the weight of that was enough to cause the branch to break and fall to the ground." And with that, the mouse scampered off. And the dove thought to herself, "Perhaps all the world needs is one person to be good enough." For me, there is nothing more beautiful in the world, nothing more beautiful in the world than goodness. I find nothing more attractive, nothing more exciting, nothing more beautiful, nothing than goodness. And I am so blessed to see the goodness of people so often and in so many ways. And I see it from people in every walk of life and every age. And I could tell you so many stories, but I'll just tell you one example. From 2 nights ago, a little boy named Joey, not quite 3 years old. 2 things you got to know about Joey. One, he has a little yellow blanket which he loves dearly, which is his great comfort. And 2, Joey has an Aunt Sandy who is dying of cancer. On Sunday night, the family had gathered for a meal, and Aunt Sandy had taken a turn for the worse and was lying on the couch, unable to join the family for the meal. As soon as dinner was over, Joey started asking for his blanket. It was urgent for him to get his yellow blanket. And immediately after they gave it to him, he walked over with his blanket, gave it to Sandy and said, "Here, Aunt Sandy, this will make you feel better." The goodness in him made him want to give her the blanket that he treasured so much, the blanket which made him feel better, thinking that maybe somehow then it would do that for her. And whenever I see goodness like that, whenever I see goodness in any person, it gives me hope. It makes me want to be a better person. It gives meaning to my life. And sometimes it makes me want to cry because there, I know, I am seeing a glimpse of heaven on earth. There is where I meet God. And even when I meet that goodness inside my imperfect self, I know that I am at that place where I am both me and more than me. I am at once my best and truest self and one with the one who is all goodness. And I meet God there too. It is Christmas. And what we celebrate at the heart of this day is goodness. The goodness that is at the heart of this universe, the goodness that is at the heart of us, and the goodness that is, in the end, God. So be good for goodness sake, because you never know when one single act of goodness, feeling like it weighs nothing more than nothing, the weight of a snowflake, might be all that the world needs. Well, nice hat, buddy. Merry Christmas. Well, Merry Christmas to you, too. What have you got, Big Al? Blanket. You got a blanket? Yeah. Why, are you cold? Why do you have a blanket? You saw the statue of Jesus out in front, the baby Jesus, and you thought the baby Jesus might be cold. Oh, Big Al, that's nice. That's sweet of you. You know, sometimes you can be a little obnoxious. You too. I know I can too. I know, yeah. But I also know that there's real goodness in you, and I love that, Big Al. Oh. Idea. What's your idea? Oh, that's good. Well, why don't you say it on behalf of both of us, would you? Go ahead. We love you. And boys and girls, we do love you. We do.